Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chils, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. Okay, my love, I have put everything that I offer for free on one page so that we are not doing more work than we have to, because why would we do that? Hashtag work smarter, not harder. So livemyhappyhealth.com/free. You are going to find everything I've created for not only leveling up in your personal life and building a life that you love, but leveling up in your business life and building a business that you love. Okay? livemyhappyhealth.com/free. Love you. Yaller. Hi, podcast fam. This episode is brought to you by a conversation that I was having with a client this morning. And I was like, oh, hey, self, this would be a really good thing to talk about because it's something I talk about often and something people experience often. So before we dig into that, hello, how are you? I hope that you are well. I hope that this episode gives you some perspective. I hope that it gives you a little chicken nugget for your brain to chew on. And I hope that it helps you maybe find some momentum is the right word. Maybe get some clarity is the right phrase. Maybe practice some acceptance is the right phrase. Whatever it is that you need, I hope this episode gives you. So let's party on, Wayne. Let me see. So I was talking to them and they were saying, like, I am just so tired. Like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of being tired. I'm so tired of feeling like everything is hard and everything is a struggle. And it doesn't feel like I can get out of this hole. It doesn't seem like anything I'm doing is working. It doesn't seem like I'm getting any traction. Now, they started the first part. The rest of this is something that I hear from people often. It doesn't seem like it's working. I feel like I'm back at the beginning. Every time something happens, I feel like I'm taking 7 steps back. It's just not working. What I'm doing is not working, and I'm fucking exhausted. And I'm so tired of being exhausted. To which I say, I totally hear that. Absolutely. 100% yes. This work, whether you're building a business and doing that work, or whether you are doing healing work, whether you're doing excavating work, is hard. There's a reason that cowards don't do it. There's a reason that it takes a while. There's like you're essentially rebuilding your whole life. You're quite literally rewiring your brain. You're quite literally rewiring your nervous system. Like, think about how long it takes for a bone to heal. It's minimum 12 weeks just for the structure, just for like the bone to heal, to start building that framework. But it's not completely healed for months, and your body's working on that 24/7. So imagine how long it takes your brain and your nervous system to adjust when you're doing healing work, when you're building new systems, when you're building new habits. But you're not doing it 24/7, right? That's not even feasible. That's not possible. You can't do that. So it takes proportionally longer. Like, you're literally digging the rot out of your life and planting flowers. But the day that you plant is not the day that you harvest, right? If anyone is a gardener, like, the day that you plant seeds is not the days that you get flowers. It takes a lot. It takes planting them. It takes giving them a good environment. It takes cultivating. It takes weeding. Like, it takes a lot of things to get what you want. So the first part of the work is excavating. We'll talk healing specifically. The first part of the work is really excavating. It's very, very education heavy because you don't know shit. You're just struggling. Life is chaos. You don't know why. You don't know what's happening. You don't know where you're getting in the way, where other people are getting in the way. You don't know. You're like basically walking through a minefield blindfolded and stepping on landmines all the time, but you still have to get across the field. And it's like, fuck, man, like I keep getting blown up by landmines. And it's like, hi, welcome to your world when you're not aware of your trauma and you don't know what to do and you don't have someone helping you through it. That's essentially what it's like. So when you start working with someone, a therapist, a practitioner, a healer, whatever, like when you start working with someone whose primary goal is and should be to reorganize your brain and your nervous system, that's where the real work happens, not someone who just listens to you. Okay, that is not work. That's nothing. So, someone who is actively helping you excavate the rot out of your system, the rot out of your life, who is actively teaching you skills, is like now you're in a minefield, except they've been through this minefield 100 times and they're starting to learn where your specific landmines are buried. So, one, they can intentionally trip them so you can diffuse them and get rid of them. And two, they can help you work through when a landmine is accidentally tripped so you can diffuse them and get rid of them. But if you have a whole field of landmines, it takes a while to dig those up to learn how to diffuse them, to learn how to diffuse this type and how to diffuse this type. Because even though they're all landmines, different types of triggers slash landmines take different types of diffusing, take different types of, getting rid of. Like the work is just, it's heavy. It's energetically heavy. Like, again, think of how tired you are when you're healing. Hello, your brain and your nervous system are doing that. Think of how tired you were if you were digging a hole 4 hours a day, every day for 6 months. Like you would get a hell of a lot better at digging a hole. You would get much stronger in those muscles. But in the beginning, man, you're fucking exhausted because you haven't ever done this work before. It's energetically hard. It's draining. It can be very exhausting. You're having to come to terms with probably a lot of things that you've run from for a really long time. You're having to come to terms with the things that you have allowed yourself to be put through and to grieve those. You have to grieve what could have been. You have to grieve a bunch of shit. And that's all heavy and it's active, right? So when I hear clients say, like, I'm so tired of being tired, like, I'm exhausted, this work is so hard. You're right. It is. It is. This work is not for cowards. This work is not for people who are not committed. Now, let me tell you what happens for people who leave, because I've had clients do this, right? I've done this long enough that people will come up against an energetic wall where they either have to keep changing their life and give up the things that are toxic, give up the things that are weighing them down, that are holding them back, that they're holding on to because of trauma. They have to give those things up if they want to move forward. There is no other way. Now, that doesn't mean get rid of everyone in your life who's ever caused you pain or has been traumatic for you or doesn't respect your boundaries or is kind of problematic. That's not what I'm saying. What I mean is you can keep anyone in your life that you want to keep, but if you want to keep healing, if you want to keep growing, those relationships have to adjust and some people will have to be let go of. It's just the nature of this work. Now, I can tell you, having done this work with literally hundreds of people at this point, it's never not worth it. It's always worth it. What you get when you're on the other side of this is a level of peace, a level of freedom, a level of respect, a level of care, a level of love that if you've never done this work, you don't even fucking know. But I know because I have walked so many people through this process that I know what's on the other end for you. I know how light you feel, how happy you are. Like that's where you're going. But when people come up against this energetic wall, where they really have to make a choice. Am I going to continue growing? Which naturally means outgrowing some people, outgrowing some situations. But let me tell you now, not every loss is a loss. Not every loss is a loss. So they'll come up against this energetic wall where they need to make a choice. They either stay in their dysfunction, stay in their chaos, stay in their shit show because they're not ready to let it go yet. They're not willing to do what it takes to grow, to move on, to heal. Or they do what it takes to grow, to move on, to heal. They renegotiate those relationships. They let some people go. They leave environments that are actively toxic for them. If people choose to stay in their bullshit, they will leave therapy. They'll leave essentially. They'll typically make it, if they're very like committed to their bullshit, they'll make it about me. You didn't do this. We're not vibing. Everything is good. I'm good now. Meanwhile, they're still in a super toxic relationship, a super toxic job. They're actively harming themselves and others. Like, that's not true. You're lying. Stop lying. So they'll either make it about me or they'll just ghost, right? That's typically one or the two things happens. If people make the choice not to push past that energetic wall, to stay in the swamp, then you stay in a swamp. The alligator keeps biting your ass. You keep getting I don't know, are piranhas in a swamp? I don't think so. You keep getting eaten by piranhas, you're eaten by alligators, anacondas are trying to kill you. It's super hot, it's muggy. It's literally like walking through a swamp with hungry alligators and hungry anacondas. And some people choose to stay there because they're not ready to do what they have to do to grow. They're not ready to let go of the things they have to let go of to renegotiate what they have to renegotiate in order to heal, in order to be happy. Again, this work is not for cowards. So if they choose to move forward, they release their burdens. They essentially break the chains that were holding them back, whether that's people or a job or situations or family members, whatever, like a partner, a situationship, a bullshit situationship, whatever. When you break those chains, eventually you get out of the swamp. Now, that's not like, oh, you come up against this energetic wall. Okay, I'm going to do what I have to do. And the next day, everything is great and you're out of the swamp. That's not how it happens. But eventually you get out of the swamp. How do I know this? I've walked hundreds of people through this. And a really interesting thing that happens is once people are out of the swamp, life starts aligning for them. They start experiencing these like really, I don't believe in coincidences. Serendipitous things start happening for them. So it's like the universe is waiting for you to meet a certain energetic standard. And then she's like, oh, all those things that you've been wishing for, praying for, hoping for, let me hand them to you on a silver platter. Why? Because now you're in congruence with yourself. Now you have integrity. Now you're holding a standard. Now you're not so busy being a drama llama that you can handle this. But if you never get out of the swamp, you block your own blessings. You block your own wishes. You block your own hopes. You will never get them. And if you get them, you won't be able to keep them for a few reasons. One, you have to have an energetic ability to hold them. And more people are scared of getting exactly what they want than they are of never getting what they want. So you have to have an energetic ability to hold them. Your nervous system has to be regulated enough to handle it, to handle the capacity, to handle all those things. And you can't be out of integrity. You can't be incongruent, meaning you do one thing and say another, or you say one thing and do another. That doesn't work, right? Like, you can't do that and have what you want. It doesn't work energetically. You block your own blessings. You can't hold on to this bullshit situationship and have the partner of your dreams. It just doesn't work that way. If you're holding on, if you're like your hands are full of bullshit, you obviously aren't getting a handful of diamonds because your hands are already full. So when people tell me, like, I'm so tired of being tired, this work is so exhausting, like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, what I tell them and what I will tell you is that there is no other option. There is no option. There is no other good option. Let me say that. You always have a choice. And something I adopted a long time ago is that people deserve a right to their suffering. If you want to stay in the swamp and you're committed to your chaos and you're committed to your bullshit, you deserve the things that happen while you're in the swamp. Now, let me be very clear about this. You never deserve abuse. You never, ever, ever, ever deserve abuse. That is never something you deserve. But if you are determined to stay in a situation, in a relationship, in a dynamic where you are consistently being abused, where you are consistently being mistreated, understand that that is your choice. Now, you don't deserve the abuse, but it will happen as long as you stay. And people deserve the right to choose their suffering. No one can take that away. I certainly can't take it away. I can't save any of my clients if they are determined to drown in 3 inches of water. All I can do is remind them that, hey, you can pick your head up and walk away from that puddle. But if they say, no, 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 I'm going to drown here, okay, well then die. Metaphorically, not literally. Understand that that comes from a place of love. I love my clients enough to hold their autonomy above everything. You always have a choice. It's just a shitty choice because you continue to suffer, and that makes no fucking sense when you don't have to. You don't have to keep suffering. If you're drowning in 3 inches of water, pick your fucking head up. And I say that with so much love. I understand viscerally, personally, how hard it is to leave the swamp, to choose to do the work. Not only do I witness it, I've done it. It is hard. It is a hard choice, but there is no other good option. If you want to get out of the swamp, you have to keep going. You must keep going. That is the only way. The only way through is through. Now we can make things easier, right? It's easier with a therapist, it's easier with a guide, it's easier with someone who knows what the hell they're doing, obviously. But there is no helicopter ride out of this swamp. The only way through is through. So if you are tired, keep going. If you are exhausted, keep going. If you don't think you can go on, keep going. That is the only good option. Because once you're out of the swamp, you will never be there again. You will never be there again. Your nervous system won't let you. Your body will not let you. Once you come into congruence, once you do the work to listen to your body, to clear what you need to clear, to learn what you need to learn, you will never be in that particular swamp again. It doesn't mean that life doesn't get hard. It doesn't mean shit doesn't happen. It means that you will never be able to put yourself in a situation where you are being mistreated again. That will never happen to you. I know because I've walked hundreds of people through this. That stands true. So if you are tired of being tired, rest. Take a break. Take a breather. Take a pause, but then keep fucking going. If you want what you say you want, to be free, to be happy, to have peace, to have a wonderful partnership, to have a job you love, to have a life that you love, you don't get to be a coward about it. And if you choose to stay in the swamp, you will stay there as long as you choose to stay there. Nothing will get better. Nothing will change. It is this work or it feels like death. There is no other option. And it's almost worse once you start doing the work and you come to an energetic wall and you choose not to continue because now you're aware of all this shit. Now you're aware of the problems where you're the problem. Like you have enough knowledge to really suffer versus when you're ignorant, you're like, I don't know why everything keeps happening to me. It's so crazy versus like, oh, fuck, it's me. I know exactly how miserable I am, but I'm choosing to stay in the swamp instead of choosing to keep going. Again, the only way through is through. If you are tired, keep going. It is the only good option. And I promise you, once you come out of the swamp, one, you'll never go back in it. Your body won't let you. Two, once you're out of the swamp, life is so good. It is so much easier. Things that you've been dreaming for come to you because you're finally in a place where you can accept them and you can make them work. But if you're in a swamp, you can't build a house, you can't build a life, you can't build your dreams. It's a swamp. You can't build anything there. All you can do is survive. So if you're tired of being tired, if you're so exhausted, keep going. You're probably a lot closer than you think. Life will test you. The universe will test you. How bad do you want this? What are you willing to give up to get everything that you want? They're going to test you. The universe is going to make you answer that question. And you can stop anywhere along this journey that you want. You have a right to do that. You have a right to choose where you stay. I just don't recommend you choosing to stay in a swamp when you don't have to. That is so hard. And you know, if you're there now, if you're like, fuck, I'm so tired of being tired, I'm so tired of struggling. Yeah, well, you're doing heavy work and it's hard, but the work gets easier. You get better, and eventually you don't have to do the work anymore. You're not building a house forever. Eventually, you get to live in the house. You're not walking out of a swamp forever. The swamp doesn't last forever, but it lasts as long as it lasts. It takes as long as it takes. And if you stop in the middle, you'll never get out. That doesn't make any sense. So, again, if you are tired of being tired, keep going because freedom is on the other side of the swamp. And the only way through is through. You cannot go around. There are no shortcuts. You have to do the work. So that's essentially the reminder. That was what I reminded her this morning. I reminded her that she is allowed to prioritize herself whenever she needs to. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to take breaks. You're allowed to quit. Any of those are options. All of those are your choice. I don't recommend quitting because I can tell you what happens when people do that. They continue to suffer until they pick the work back up. It's not fucking worth it. I promise you it's not worth it. But hey, you deserve a right to your suffering and you deserve to die in the graves that you dig. And I say that with love. You deserve to die in the graves that you dig. And if you choose to stop in the swamp, you are choosing to continue suffering. And I do not recommend that because you don't have to. It can be so easy and it can be so fun. And you can laugh and you can spend time with people you love and you can do work that feels fulfilling for you. You can have everything that you want. You just can't have it while you're in the middle of a swamp. Keep going. It's so worth it. God, it's so worth it. So I hope that that gives you some perspective. I hope that that gives you a kick in the tushy if you need it. I hope that it gives you a warm hug if you need it. You can do this. You will not be here forever. Keep going. And if you are like, damn, I'm definitely in a swamp, but I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get out, shoot me a message on Instagram. I may have some resources for you. Okay. Here's to continuing, even when it sucks, even when it's heavy. Here's to choosing courage over fear. And here's to choosing to trust yourself that you will get where you need to go. You're going to get there. It doesn't last forever. Love you, mean it.